London, at the beginning of the 20th century, was a city of contrasts. The Palace of Westminster shone beneath new electric lights, while only a few streets away, in the narrow alleys of the East End, darkness and poverty still ruled. Thick fog often drifted over the Thames, mixing with factory smoke, turning the city into something ghostly, like a faded photograph come to life. More than 10 years had passed since the name Jack the Ripper had terrified Whitechapel. The murders were never solved, and the killer's identity remained a mystery. Yet fear never truly disappears, it merely changes its shape. By 1903, London spoke of technological progress, political tensions, and distant wars. But once the sun slipped behind the clouds, old stories returned to life in the poorer districts. People whispered, "What if he never vanished? What if he is only waiting?" In this restless city lived a young journalist named Arthur Mason. Arthur worked for a modest but ambitious newspaper called The London Chronicle. He dreamed of writing an article that would make the entire city talk. His editor, Mr. Harvey, was a practical and demanding man. "We need sensation, Mason," he often said, tapping his pencil impatiently against the desk. "Something that makes people buy tomorrow's paper." One cold November morning, Arthur received an envelope without a return address. The paper was cheap, but the handwriting was steady and deliberate. "The Shadow Returns. Where it all began. Midnight. If you seek the truth, come alone." Arthur stared at the words for a long time. His heartbeat quickened. Where it all began. Could that mean Whitechapel? He showed the letter to his editor. "Probably a prank," Harvey muttered. "But if you're curious, investigate. Just don't get yourself killed." Arthur decided to go. Still, he was not reckless. Before leaving, he sent a short note to his friend, Sergeant Henry Collins of the Metropolitan Police, explaining where he would be. At midnight, Whitechapel felt almost deserted. The gas lamps flickered in the damp air, casting trembling pools of yellow light onto the wet cobblestones. Arthur walked carefully, trying to appear calm. The courtyard near the abandoned warehouse was exactly as he imagined, dark, narrow, and smelling of damp wood and rust. Somewhere in the distance, a train whistle echoed through the fog. "You came." The voice emerged from the shadows. A tall man stepped forward, dressed in a long dark coat and hat. A scarf partially covered his face. "Who are you?" Arthur demanded. "One who remembers," the stranger replied quietly. "One who knows the truth." He handed Arthur another envelope. "There are those in this city who believe the past is buried," the man continued. "But evil does not disappear. It is inherited." Arthur felt a chill crawl down his spine. "Are you speaking of the Ripper?" The man smiled faintly. "I am speaking of legend." Inside the envelope was a copy of a newspaper article from 1888, along with a short note. "Tomorrow night, proof." Before Arthur could react, the stranger vanished into the fog. The following morning, rumors spread quickly. On a wall in Whitechapel, someone had painted in red, "I have returned." Newspapers seized the story. Fear crept slowly through the district. Shopkeepers closed early. Women hurried home before dark. Police patrols increased. Arthur understood that this might be nothing more than a cruel performance, yet the fear in people's eyes was real. He began his own investigation, visiting archives, interviewing elderly residents who still remembered the terror of 1888. One old woman, Mrs. Brown, told him softly, "The worst part wasn't the murders, it was the waiting. Every footstep behind you felt like death." Her words stayed with him. That evening, another letter arrived. This time, it named a location, an abandoned factory near the docks. Arthur no longer doubted that this was carefully orchestrated. He informed Sergeant Collins again, but asked him not to intervene immediately. "I want to understand what he wants," Arthur explained. Inside the factory, darkness swallowed everything. Broken glass crunched beneath his boots. Suddenly, a lantern flickered to life at the far end of the room. The same man stood there. "London loves its monsters," he said calmly. People crave fear. It gives their dull lives meaning. "Are you insane?" Arthur shouted. "No," the man replied. "I am an actor, and the city is my stage." He removed the scarf from his face. Arthur recognized him at once, Edward Grey, a struggling theatre performer who had recently faded into obscurity. "You did this for attention?" Arthur asked in disbelief. "For memory," Grey answered. "If one cannot surpass a legend, one can revive it." At that moment, footsteps thundered from behind. Police officers burst into the factory, led by Sergeant Collins. Grey attempted to run, but the exits were already blocked. He was seized, the lantern falling and extinguishing in the struggle. "You wanted to be remembered?" Arthur said quietly as Grey was restrained. "You will be, but not as you imagined." Grey merely smiled. "At least they spoke his name again, and mine." In that instant, Arthur understood. For Grey, fear was a means of existence. He had not committed murder, but he had tried to resurrect terror, to make himself part of a legend that had never died. The next morning, the London Chronicle published the headline, "Ghost of the Past Unmasked. Fear as Performance." Gradually, London calmed. Shops reopened late into the evening. The streets regained their rhythm. The gas lamps no longer seemed so menacing. Arthur sat at his desk, reviewing his article. He had achieved the sensation he once desired. Yet he realized something deeper. Legends survive not because of killers, but because of memory. London would never forget its past. But it did not need to live within it. And as fog once again drifted slowly over the Thames, Arthur understood that the most dangerous shadow is not the one hidden in darkness, but the one born in the human imagination.